session นะคะในงาน Social Enterprise Forum 2021 นะคะ Where Profit Meet Purpose นะคะสังคมยั่งยืนธุรกิจอยู่ยาวค่ะเวลาหลังจากนี้นะคะตั้งแต่เวลา 10:30 นาทีถึงเที่ยงตรงนะคะเราก็จะพบกับเวิร์กช็อปนะคะที่2นะคะก็คือชื่อเวิร์กช็อปว่า Start with Why Simon Sinek นะคะโดยมิสเตอร์อเล็กซ์มาร์โวนะคะท่านเป็น Senior Advisor ของทางสศิลป์ Sustainability and Entrepreneurship Center นะคะก็วันนี้ได้เข้ามาเรียบร้อยแล้วนะคะแล้วก็พร้อมกับที่จะพบกับทุกท่านนะคะโดยเนื้อหาในวันนี้นะคะก็จะมีการแลกเปลี่ยนกันนะคะในลักษณะของการ interactive นิดนึงเนาะก็คือทางผู้เข้าร่วมกิจกรรมนะคะสามารถที่จะสอบถามหรือ raise hand ขึ้นมาในระหว่างของการบรรยายได้เลยนะคะหรือมีคำถามก็สามารถพิมพ์มาทางช่องแชทได้เลยโดยข้อควรรู้สำหรับการเข้าร่วมซูมในวันนี้นะคะที่จะขออนุญาตแนะนำ5เรื่องด้วยกันก็คือเรื่องแรกจะมีการอัดวิดีโอเซสชั่นนะคะนี้นะคะตลอดเวลานะคะก็ถ้าเกิดท่านที่เข้ามาก็คือขอให้ทราบว่าได้มีการบันทึกวิดีโอด้วยนะคะส่วนที่2ก็คือไมค์ของทุกท่านนะคะจะถูกปิดเสียงเอาไว้นะคะถ้าเกิดใครที่อยากจะพูดหรือว่าถามคำถามก็ให้raise hand ขึ้นมาแล้วเดี๋ยวทางโฮสต์ก็คือทาง SE Thailand เนี่ยจะช่วยเปิดไมค์ให้กับทุกท่านนะคะส่วนที่3ก็คือเราจะแนะนำให้เปิดวิดีโอนะคะเพื่อให้เห็นหน้าของทุกท่านนะคะได้ชัดเจนแล้วทางคุณอเล็กซ์เนี่ยก็จะได้พูดคุยนะคะแล้วก็แลกเปลี่ยนสำหรับผู้เข้าร่วมในระหว่างการทำกิจกรรมนะคะนอกจากนั้นเนี่ยก็คือสามารถที่จะพิมพ์แชทเพื่อใช้ในการถามคำถามในกรณีที่ไม่สะดวกในการที่จะพูดนะคะก็สามารถพิมพ์มาได้เลยแล้วเดี๋ยวทางโมเดเลเตอร์จะช่วยยกประเด็นคำถามให้ทางผู้เข้าร่วมทุกท่านที่อยากจะแลกเปลี่ยนกับทางท่านวิทยากรนะคะและสุดท้ายก็คือสามารถแปลเป็นภาษาไทยนะคะในกรณีที่เป็นภาษาอังกฤษนี่ก็จะมีทาง interpreter นะคะก็คือผู้แปลเนี่ยท่านสามารถคลิกฟังก์ชันของการแปลได้นะคะก็ตัวการกิจกรรมทั้งหมดในช่วงนี้นะคะก็จะรันเป็นไทยสลับอังกฤษนะคะก็สามารถที่จะสื่อสารกันได้ตลอดเวลาค่ะในเบื้องต้นนะคะก็ขออนุญาตพูดถึงตัวเซสชันอีกสักเล็กน้อยนะคะว่าตัวเซสชันนี้ค่ะทางองค์กรธุรกิจที่สนใจอะค่ะก็ต้องมีเรื่องของการแก้ปัญหาเนาะในเรื่องของการพัฒนาคุณภาพชีวิตแล้วก็ทำให้ผู้มีส่วนได้ส่วนเสียต่างๆเนี่ยเขาเรียกอะไรอะมีวิธีการในการที่จะทำลายเรื่องของ common sense แล้วก็กรอบคิดที่จะทำให้เราใช้แนวคิดที่คุณอเล็กซ์จะพูดถึง start with why เนี่ยจะช่วยทำให้ทุกอย่างสามารถที่จะชัดเจนยิ่งขึ้นแล้วก็เป็นเทคนิคในการไปดำเนินธุรกิจต่อค่ะในลำดับต่อไปขออนุญาตมอบเวทีการเสวนาในครั้งนี้นะคะให้กับมิสเตอร์อเล็กซ์มาร์โฟนะคะ Senior Advisor to สศิลป์ Sustainability and Entrepreneurship Center ในการที่จะแชร์ Presentation แล้วก็เวิร์กช็อปต่อไปค่ะขออนุญาตเรียนเชิญค่ะpresentation มาเรียบร้อยแล้วนะคะเชิญค่ะ
เดี๋ยวนะครับขัดข้องนิดนึง
ท่านใดอยากจะพูดคุยก็สามารถที่จะ raise hand ได้นะคะ
ขอโทษนะมันคีย์เนี่ยมันใช้ได้ดีนะทำไมมันเป็นอย่างนี้
ได้ค่ะเดี๋ยวรอสักครู่ค่ะ
เอาใหม่
คิดว่านะมาแล้วค่ะอาจารย์
มาแล้วครับแต่ว่า ยังเป็นในนั่นอยู่
ไม่โชว์ full screen ใช่ไหมคะ
โชว์ full screen
มาแล้ว
Okay,ขอโทษด้วยนะ Good morning everyone. Yes, I'm happy to see so many of you up early on a Saturday morning. It's very good of you to join us. I hope that we can all learn something together. One thing for sure, I think you're going to be surprised at some of the interpretations that I offer, but I would like you to take them under consideration. I am not someone who knows everything. I am someone who has many good ideas from a lot of years of experience, and I would like to share them with you to maybe save you some of the, well, not so good experiences that you might run into. Let's start off with a little quiz to see where the audience, where our participants stand on the question of business generally. I like to ask how you view business, and we'll run this poll. We'll take care of this, I hope. You can answer this poll. I don't see it. Do you see it?คุณลุงนี่ปิดเสียงนะ
ค่ะ
แล้วจะเปิดโพลให้ป่ะ
เปิดอะไรนะคะ
โพล
โพล
และ
จะเป็นพิมพ์นะคะ
How do you view business?
ขอเชิญทางผู้เข้าร่วมกิจกรรมค่ะพิมพ์นิดนึงได้ไหมคะว่าแต่ละท่านทำธุรกิจเกี่ยวกับอะไรบ้างค่ะ
ไม่ครับไอ้โพลเนี่ยที่ให้ไปมี5คำถามไอ้เลือก5ข้อ How do you view business?
ไม่โชว์ค่ะอาจารย์มาแล้วค่ะ
นี่
มาแล้วค่ะโอเคค่ะ
โอเค
How do you view business นะคะ
ครับ Please pick one, only one.
A few minutes.
Yeah, we'll give you a few minutes. Think about it.
Yeah.
Read it carefully and be truthful, please. I'd like to know the mindset of the people that I'm talking to.
Please put your question, your answer in the poll. มีใครตอบมาหรือยังคะโอเคมีตอบมาบ้างแล้วนะคะรอสักครู่นะคะเดี๋ยวจะ
เอาสักเวลาได้สักครึ่งหนึ่งก็โอเคก็ปิดได้แล้ว
ได้ค่ะสักครู่นะคะ โอเคค่ะ
Okay, good. Thank you. Can they see this too, or just me? Is everybody seeing this?
Yes, everybody.
Okay, good. So they can all see that we're heavily skewed to what you would call the social side. My company's processes they try to be friendly, and I want to track what I'm doing. Excellent. Thank you very much. That's pretty impressive, but I guess it's what you'd expect with an audience that comes to a social social business lecture. So I'm pleased to see that. But the results also tend to show, in this case, and also in my experience, that the impression many people have is that only what you call social business can have positive effects, can contribute to the well-being of society. But the truth is, every business, no matter whether you call it a for-profit or a non-profit or anything in between, every business was created to respond to some issue. It was created to make things better for some group of people. So I usually say, when I'm talking to students at the university, that every business is really a social business. And I challenge you to think of, right now, start thinking of examples of businesses that are not social. Yeah. What can you think of as something that is not a social business? Keep that in mind, and I'll ask you in a minute. But many people think of business, they call it normal business. There's no other term for it. We have social business, and then we have business. The people that think that business, normal business, is only for making money and nothing else, they don't want to be lumped together with the rest of the businesses that call themselves social, right? At the same time, people on the social side, they don't want to be confused with people who are doing what they consider to be normal business for profit only. But here's the problem. Business really is a term that describes a methodology. It's a structure to organize work and people for effective problem solving, nothing else. It has no, in and of itself, it has no moral value. It is neutral. It just happens to be that some companies focus on manufacturing, some businesses focus on agriculture, and some businesses focus on social issues. A business, like we saw the example yesterday from Duke, from Nafaluang, who talked about people's lives being improved in the hill tribe regions. That's a business. Those are businesses. Those examples that he gave, and they were good businesses. The same as any other business that's put together for a specific purpose. Any challenge that there's out there in society can be answered with the structure and the rigor of a business process. So, unfortunately, I know that people don't often agree or don't often realize that, to oversimplify, business is nothing more than a formula for problem analysis and solution development. It has no moral component. It can be employed for good or for ill, for sure. I'm not going to go into an exercise, which I often do, which is to discuss the purpose of business. It takes a little more interaction than we have available today. But you can plant that question in your own mind, maybe, to discuss with your colleagues. What is the purpose of a business? And many people in business schools have an immediate response, like, purpose of a business? They make money, of course. But that's not the case. The case is, purpose of a business is to solve problems. Now, if you think that there are businesses that were not created to solve problems, and were not created in response to a perceived social need. I'd like you to go ahead and raise your hand and give me an example. And I'll give you a minute if you want to think about that.
Present your answer. Put.
No, there's no answer. It's just a question. Yeah, you can put the answer in chat if you want. That's fine. And examples of a business that are not in response to a social need. Call them unsocial businesses instead of social businesses. Can you think of any? Are any hands going up? Does anybody have one? No? I don't see any hands. I don't know if I would see them here or not.
Me too.
Okay. So if you accept, as I have postulated, as I have suggested, that social business is just another form of business, another focus, like manufacturing, like resource extraction, like farming, all different types of business. Social business is just another focus for business. So there's no reason for these businesses, the social side and the profit side, there's no reason for them to be arguing or at odds with one another. In my experience, I've worked with both sides. Do we have arms going up? Anything to do? No. I've worked with both sides, and I can tell you that on the social side, very often the operators do not want to talk to profit side. Yet, at the same time, they want their investment or their donations, but they don't want to talk to them because, these people are profit hungry. Of course, in the social world, we don't call it profit, we call it surplus. It's the same thing. It's excess revenue, if you will, that we can use to build the business further. There's no reason for one side or the other to look down on the other. You need both sides. When I was working with the many nonprofits, they would come to me because they knew my business background and say, can you help us find funding? Why is my screen not going down? Ah, there it is. Can you help us find funding? And I would say, yes, I can. I have contacts in the business field. I was in business here for over 20 years. So yes, let's go see Plum Chai at XYZ company. And let's take your enterprise plan with you, and let's show it to them, and let's see what we can do. And the companies would often just have nothing but a brown paper bag full of receipts. And they would go to this big company that was trying to be generous, trying to be open and helpful, and say, we are a small company, we are a small enterprise trying to correct the availability of water or sanitation or whatever for the community. We're trying to offer that. trust us, we need your money. And here's a bunch of receipts to show what we've been doing. Now, I'm sure some of you out there are in business, and you know that's not going to work. Business people, all business people, even people that haven't even graduated from business school, deal in numbers, and they deal in risk, and they want to know what are the chances of your project being successful. The only way they can tell that is not by your nice face and the way you look at them. No, the only way you can do that is by showing them numbers. So how does a business that is interested in a social aspect, social enterprise, as we call them today, how do they get funding? If all they have is a nice face and a nice name, maybe a nice reputation, but no real concrete evidence of the impact that they're having on the problem that they're addressing. Very difficult without understanding both sides of the issue, which is very difficult because, again, in generally, you don't get a lot of overlap between the social entrepreneurs and the so-called for-profit entrepreneurs. So you've heard a little bit about my background from the introduction just now. That's pretty much the what I am. I've been in business out here for many years. I was part of the team that established a small company here that I mentioned in my own introduction about a small company that back then nobody ever heard of, and today it's known as DHL. That company started tiny. When I joined the company, our revenue was 50,000 baht a month, about 50,000 baht a month. And when I left the company 20 years or so, 15, 20 years later, the revenue was about 30 million a month. And this was just DHL here in Thailand. DHL around the world was, by the time I left, $1 billion company. So I've seen the process that startups go through. And DHL was a unicorn before the name was there. I was probably doomed from the beginning because my mother was a teacher, my father was a bagman for the US government, which meant he went around to countries in Asia and evaluated their funding requests and decided if they could benefit from a loan or a donation from the US government. He was very popular, very popular. And on top of everything, I'm an absolute first generation, third country kid, we call ourselves. Some of you, I'm sure, are as well. Third country kids are born in one culture and raised in another. And it gives us a different outlook on many things, a much different outlook on many things than our fellow countrymen. But moving on from there, let's talk about, once you've got your idea, whether it's for profit or not, or if it's social, how do we go about explaining our idea and selling it? Now, I would think many of you might know of Simon Sinek. I would hope so. If you've been interested in leadership and motivation, you should have come across him. His TED Talk on YouTube called Start With Why is the 4th or 5th most popular TED Talk ever made. 30, 40 million views. Incredible. His book, same name. I don't know if it'll show up or not. Let's see. No. The book is white, so you can't see it. But the book is a bestseller. He's got a second edition out already. It's been out about 10 years now. But I think everybody could gain from it. It's well written, it's simple. This is Megan Salaya. Oh, well, that's because I haven't changed the slides. There is no slide. Okay. Thank you. So Simon Sinek has done a lot of work on communication, on leadership, and it's very worthwhile to listen to him because, as I say, he's quite clear and quite positive. And we're going to look at a small clip of his today. There's a lot of his material on TED Talks. If you want to go look him up, Simon Sinek, Sinek. And we'll start now with the brief clip so you can get a taste, but also listen to the content or read the content. It's subtitled in Thai. Yes. Sorry, I understand that the sound did not come through. Yes. Tranquilo. Well, anyway, you couldn't hear the sound, but you could at least read the transcription below. I was having trouble every time I tried to switch the sound on, the video stopped. I'm sorry, but I hope you got the gist of what he was saying. He described the process of presenting a problem or a solution even that starts with why, the solution, and ends up with what, which, as he says, is quite opposite almost every other sales pitch that you heard. But remember, he said, you want to do business with people who believe what you believe. Now let that sink in for a minute. Is that what you want yourself? Or would you rather do business with everybody? Apple doesn't, and some other companies do not. They just say, we have a good product or service, and we'd like you to continue. We'd like to be able to provide that product or service for you. But if it's not your type product, it's not what you want, who are we to force it on you? So the problem is with many people and many organizations, they're not too clear on the why. They really aren't. So let's do a quick exercise, starting with your organization. Take a piece of paper and please note down on paper, small piece of paper, as you see here on the screen, my organization's why is to do what? What's the contribution you're making in order for the impact to take place? My organization's why. Now here's some examples you see there. Enable athletes to perform, create opportunities. The reason it's important to do this is because we have found when we go into organizations and do this exercise, very, very many people have different responses. They shouldn't. They shouldn't. The responses of the CEO, responses of the management, senior management team, responses of middle management, responses from the floor should really be quite similar, huh? But I can assure you, in any organization with more than a very few people in it, that's not the case. So you have different people performing different functions, believing that those functions are for a different purpose, for a different impact. One earmark of an effective team, one that's in sync for sustainability, is the fact that everyone on that team, top to bottom, has a grasp of the group's purpose. Some of you may have heard of Ray Anderson of the company Interface Carpet. He's particularly well known because as an engineer and an entrepreneur, and in the end, the head of a very successful worldwide enterprise with offices all around the world, he decided one day, basically, that his company was effectively pillaging the earth because it was taking from the earth continually and putting nothing back. The definition of unsustainable, taking more than can be replaced. If you have the time and the interest, you might Google Ray Anderson. He's a very well-spoken CEO. He unfortunately has passed away now, just a few years ago. But he is very inspired and very inspiring. And he tells the story of a group of visitors to his company who came to observe how his company practiced or invoked, if you will, the the sustainability mindset and how effectively that was done. While the team that was visiting took a break, one of the members of that visiting team walked across the factory floor some distance away to the ladies' room. And on her way back from the ladies' room, she came across a forklift driver. And she thought to herself, I'll check this out right here. And she did. She stopped the forklift driver and she said, Mr. Forklift Driver, what is your job here at Interface? And the forklift driver looked at her and said, Madam, I come here to work every day to save the planet. Save the planet. She was completely off guard. She couldn't believe forklift driver saying he was saving the planet. And he went on to explain, because when I move this product quickly and effectively, the emissions of the whole process will be minimal or less than they would be otherwise. And that is what we're trying to do, is have less of an impact on the planet. Now, it sounds like it was staged, but it wasn't. Ray, in his book describing this, Confessions of a Radical Entrepreneur, when he describes this incident, Ray says she could have picked on anybody, and the chances are she wouldn't have got that kind of response consistently. But it just so happened she found the forklift driver who answered in this way. And she, that woman, having been a skeptic before, she was not very supportive of the sustainability perspective before that. She became an immediate convert. Ray Anderson, excellent gentleman. Oh, have you noted down your organization's why? Does anyone care to share their organization's why? Would be nice if you did, either in the chat or by raising your hand. I guess you're saving your energy for your entrepreneurial activities. I hope that's what's happening, because I don't see anybody responding. That's your organization's why. I hope you've come up with some ideas, and would actually be better if you take this question back to your organization and your teams and have them answer independently and compare to see how many of them agree on what the why of the organization. What's the purpose of that organization? Why is it here? See how many of your team agree. You might be shocked, I'm sorry to say. Okay, so from the organization why, we need to drill down to your own why. What is your personal why? What do you believe you can contribute to family, society, community? And what do you hope will happen from that contribution? Now, this personal why, at the very, very highest level, would probably remain unchanged, almost unchanged throughout your life. But there are sub-whys, if you will, whys below the main why that can change. My why might be, as this one says, to inspire people to do what inspires them. But a lesser why might be to help them find the educational resources they need so that they can work to make the world a better place. So the personal why is between you and you, nobody else. But it bears consideration. Most of us don't often sit down and say, why am I here? What is my role on the planet? Once you know that, a lot of decisions become automatic. Where you work, what type of work you do, becomes automatic because your why will take you there, to a company, hopefully an organization that has a similar why. This is very personal. I won't ask you to share your personal whys, but I do ask you to consider it, maybe in a quiet time, when there's no pressure, and try to write it down, make it clear. It helps your thinking process to do that. I know that many people don't want to commit to a why. They feel, well, maybe it's the wrong why. Maybe there's a different why. That's okay. That's okay. Each time you do the exercise, you'll refine your answer so that in the end, you'll say to yourself, aha, that's my real why. I really want to do that. Again, we won't share this, but unless somebody has a burning desire to share it, if you do that, then raise your hand. But otherwise, we'll let you keep your personal whys to yourself. However, a psychiatrist by the name of Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl, who spent World War II in a German prison camp, asked himself why so many people in the camp died, and what separated them from the ones who didn't die? What separated them from the ones who lived like he did throughout the war? And he came up with this answer. The people who had a reason to live, the people who had a burning desire, were the ones who generally pulled through. Now, of course, there was deprivation, there was lots of suffering, couldn't be 100%. But he noticed time and again, he could see the signs. Someone would come back to the bunk, and basically he could read their expressions and say to himself, that person is not going to make it. They've given up. They have no why. They've given up. That's one book, his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that I would urge everyone to read at some time in their life. No matter if you're on the social side or on the profit side, or if you can profit socially, either way, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Actually, it's been around since 1947 or 48. You can legally download it online if you'd like to read it there. Well, I know it upsets some people's view of the universe to realize or to appreciate that in many respects, every business is social. I say again, if you can give me an example of an unsocial business, I'm listening. I've been asking this question for the last 18 years, and no one has been able to give me an example of an unsocial business. When you think about it, it's quite difficult. Business takes place in society, within society, not apart from society, within society. So it's almost impossible for it not to be somehow related to social issues. However, as I mentioned at the outset, you really do benefit from the passion of the social drive, as well as the rigor and the formulation of the business side. At one point, I proposed that our MBA students be mandated to go to a social enterprise and work for 6 months during their educational year and a half while working on the master's. But I think that was either an idea ahead of its time, or it was an idea that's not going anywhere. Didn't get a very good response, unfortunately. But it's magic. I have seen where MBAs elsewhere have gone to work for social organizations, and the improvements they've been able to take to those organizations by presenting a business rigor to their processes while at the same time, those MBAs come back inspired by what they've seen in the passion and leadership of the social organizations. I guess everything that you can sum up, everything that Simon says right here. Don't tell them what you do. That's not what they're people, although they might think they are, that's not why they're listening to you. It's not why they're talking to you. People like you, they'll talk to you. If they trust you, they buy what you do, they agree with what you do, they're passionate about it, then they'll do business with you. Whether it's a household product, social service, or even a political candidate. So in closing, I'm not suggesting a change in nomenclature. You can call it a social business if you want to emphasize a company that has prioritized a social problem to try to correct or improve. Just like you call a company an agricultural company or a manufacturing company. It's just another type of company, another objective that they're focused on. It happens to be prioritizing social or community issues. But at the same time, a so-called normal business, profit business, as it's called, can also be passion driven. And the best ones really are. They really are. And at the same time, the best so-called social businesses can conform to business norms, to for-profit norms. And the best ones do. The best social businesses are organized and run along classic business lines. But all businesses, social, profit, in between, whatever specific industry, all businesses start with why. So we can I'll leave you with some thoughts for further reading. There's Man's Search for Meaning. Again, everyone should read that book sometime during their life. There is Simon's book. And lastly, a freebie, 7 Habits, which is the type of book that can be used for either social or for-profit business as a guide to dealing with people and issues. Very, very handy. And I don't see any questions. I don't see any hands. So if that's the case, I'll give you a minute to think. If there are none, then my message has been delivered. I hope it's been received. Okay, I think that's it. I must have been so completely clear that everybody understood. New message.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, can
I see the question from Kunicha. Asks if my organization's why and my personal why can be the same. And the answer to that is definitely be the same. In fact, if they're not aligned, don't have to be 100%, but if they're not aligned quite closely, you won't be happy in that job, and the chances are the organization won't be happy with you either. With my companies, I always hired for attitude. I hired for passion. I hired for interest, more than interest, the passion about what I was doing. If they had that, I didn't worry about the technique or even their education so much, because frankly, I want to teach them my organization's way of doing things. Many people come out of graduate school or even undergraduate school thinking they have all the answers, and they run off and try to do the things that they believe are correct. Unfortunately, experience gives us different results sometimes. So you come to me with the interest and the passion, the desire, the burning desire to do the work. I can give you the tools. If you come to me with the tools, I can't give you the burning desire. So yes, you really do want your own passion and that of the company or the organization to be the same. And those of you who might get into the sustainability universe, if you will, you'll find immediately a lot of friends, because we have so much in common in our worldview that it takes very little barriers to break down for communication. Does that answer your question? Was there any more? It's a good question. Thank you.ลงเป็นภาษาไทยก็ได้นะครับ if that's easier.
มีไหมคะ
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ เชิญคุณนัทธิยาค่ะ
my personal why and organization why are the same purpose, but sometimes my organization think bigger than my thought or my capability. So during working, I face some difficult situation and got the pressure. So do you have some suggestion to like bring the motivation back? Yes, this is my question.
To bring your motivation back, or to bring the organization?
I think mine.
I think so. The only thing we can change is ourselves, right? We can't fix the organization.
Yeah.
We can only adjust our own feelings. And then once you do that, it's amazing how quickly the organization seems to follow. But maybe, I'm not sure what sort of pressures you're talking about, but maybe if you could look at them piecemeal, break them down into smaller pieces and address them one by one.
Mm-hmm.
And then rather than trying to move the mountain, right? You move the mountain one stone at a time. You don't just push the mountain aside. So if you can break it down like that and identify where the issues are, and
Yes.
then go to management with, if you have constructive ways or constructive ideas to make the situation better, because the chances are, if you're feeling that way, somebody else is as well. And as you say, your values seem to be aligned, and yet you have these challenge. It's very likely that other people in the organization are similarly challenged, if you will. So if you could raise it with management and ideally maybe find a few other people who have similar concerns, raise it positively, raise it constructively, you can probably go a long way towards making yourself and the organization better off and more comfortable.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, that's a good idea.
You're welcome. And it's a good question as well. We can't be more specific without having more specifics, and we don't want the specifics, do we? There's another recording hand up right now. I don't know if that's yours or somebody else's. You see the hand up? Okay, it's down now. Okay.
If you have any question, please let me know.
I'm starting to feel bad. At the
Yeah.
end of the talk now, we have more people than we had during the talk. So I don't know what the magic is.
Have one question from Kun Supot.
Okay.
Yes. How different between organizations? Why is true and so that with vision and mission?
Different between organizations. Why is to and so that with mission and vision? คุณสุพัฒน์ครับแปลเป็นไทยได้ไหมครับ I'm not sure I don't understand the question.
สะดวกพูดเป็นภาษาไทยอีกครั้งได้ไหมคะ คุณสุพจน์เรียนเชิญค่ะ
พุทธะ
คุณสุพัฒน์ขอโทษค่ะ
But if the question is, what is the difference between the organization's why? What's the difference between that and vision and mission? The why should be close to the vision. Everybody has different definitions of vision and mission. Some people put mission on top, they put vision on top. I don't know. But for me, vision is the way you would like to see the world in 20, 30, 50 years. Mission is how you as a company expect to be able to try to make that happen. That's my own personal definition. You may have different definitions. And if by my definition, the why the company exists, its role in the world, is the vision. Now, you can also have a situation where the company was founded for a reason, and over time, change in leadership, change in personnel, change in the economy. Over time, the vision might change. In that case, the why might change as well. Nothing is necessarily fixed. A good example, unfortunately, I don't have a good one for Thailand, but in the US, everybody's heard of Walmart. Everybody in business has heard of Walmart. Walmart was founded by a gentleman whose mission and passion and vision was bringing supplies to everybody, to every man. That meant physically by location being there, and also it meant in terms of price being affordable. And while that founder was alive, the company was widely admired. Everything he did was in pursuit of that mission. Better living for all, you might say. I think he called it affordable living for all, something like that. But unfortunately, he died. And when he died, his successor only got half of the equation. He didn't get the better living. He only got the cheaper living. So everything the successor did was to drive down costs, and at any cost, just push the cost down. And of course, that meant wages were kept down, pushed down, benefits down and down, quality of merchandise down and down. And within less than a decade, all the goodwill that he had built up over 30 or 40 years was gone. Gone. Walmart had been the employer of choice for many people because it was accessible, easy to get to, easy to join, easy to work for, and friendly. But when the new leadership took over, the image of Walmart went completely downhill, and it stayed that way for over a decade. Only in the last decade has Walmart managed, through a lot of effort, to turn that around. And they've turned it around by going back to the founder's original vision: affordable living for all. It's important, if you have a vision that's understood by all, that you stick to it and you live by it. If you're interested in another company that has done that, again, it's in the United States, it's Southwest Airlines, the only airline in the United States to be consistently profitable year after year after year. Even through COVID, they've been profitable. And the reason is Their vision has been affordable travel for all. Their competition is not other airlines. Their competition is the bus and the train. But everything they do is to keep their service accessible to every man effectively. And they never waver from that. They've had, I think, 5 CEOs since they were formed, and they've never wavered from that objective, from that vision, which is to bring affordable travel to everybody. Whenever an employee brings an idea to management, the first thing management asks is, will this help bring affordable travel to all? They ask them that right away. And if the answer is maybe, or if the answer is no, they won't even consider it. That's focus, and that's living your vision. Southwest Airlines.